All right, in this video, we're going to be talking about the string data type in Python. Some important things to know about strings first is that strings are a sequence of characters. Here you can see in this string called birds, we see that every value inside the string is a character, right? R, E, V, everything is a character. And strings are immutable, which means that when you create a string, the value cannot be changed. They are defined by enclosing characters in quotes. They could be a single quote, double quote, or triple quote. Strings support indexing and slicing. They can be concatenated using the plus operator. Strings allow repetition using the multiplication operator. They support membership test within and not in keywords in Python. And also they are iterable objects. Okay, so now let's move on to string basics. Here we have a string called bird, and it is saying everything looks good from afar. When we go ahead and print bird, let's run it, we could see that it does print out everything looks good from afar. And as we said, they are indexable, which means that when we access the 0th index using the square brackets, we're going to be accessing this very first character because strings are 0-based index, and we do see that we print the E. And now let's move on to iterating through this string. We could say for character in bird, we're going to print out each character with not ending in a new line, so it's all going to be printed in one line, just like this. Okay, also we could use the built-in function len keyword, len, and pass in birds as the argument, and you will get a count of how many characters there are in the string. And now another common thing you could do with strings is membership test. See if a character or a phrase or a word is in there. And so if you want to see if far is in bird, it is going to print out true because the word far is in bird, right? And if you want to see if hello in bird, but hello not in bird, this is going to check if it's not in there. So since hello is not inside this string, it's going to print true. Therefore, it does print true. All right, now let's move on to slicing. Okay, so slicing is a thing that you do to like access multiple characters in a string, right? So here we have a string called alphabet ranging from A to Z, 26 characters, right? And if we access alphabet square brackets -6, we will go in the negative direction and access the value at the -6th position, starting from the end, which is going to be U. And we do see it gets printed out right here. And now, what we got to know about slicing is that when we access the string and then with the square braces, we want to pass in the beginning index and the ending index. So with this beginning index of being 2, we're going to start at C and then end at 8, but just before 8. So we're going to end at index 7. We're not necessarily going to reach 8. So H is the 7th index, so that's why we're going to get this printed out as we see right here. And if we specify a start index but not an end index, we just assume that the slicing will occur from this starting point all the way to the end. When you can see that B is the index at position number 1, and we're going to go all the way to the end at Z, and we do see that is the correct output. If the beginning index is not specified, then we assume that it's going to start at the very first position, being at index 0, and then the end index is going to stop at index 9, but just before it, which is going to be 8. And we can see that A, B, C, D, all the way to I is printed. And now you can also do this using negative values. If you want to access the -6th index, which is going to be U, and it's going to stop just before -1. So it's going to stop at -2 right here at Y. So it's going to hold all these strings right here from U to Y. And you can see that is printed out right here. And now if you want to add another parameter inside this slicing, this last parameter is called the step parameter, where you will start from the beginning, end at the end, because these two are not specified, and then we're going to step every 2 times. We're going to start at A, and then we're going to step twice and go to C, and then we're going to step twice and go to E, right? We're like bouncing twice, and that is why we have a string that prints this right here. And then if you specify the step index to be a negative value, what that means is that it's going to go in the opposite direction. So this value will become the largest index, which is going to be this last one, and this will be the beginning index, which will be this one, and it's going to go in the backwards direction, decreasing by 1 every single time. That's why we get the string printed out in reverse order as so. All right, now let's talk about built-in methods that come with strings. So here we have a string called comment, and we see there's some space right here. We have the comment which says the solar system needs to be explored, right? And then we have some more spaces right here. So some built-in methods, there are actually a lot of built-in methods, but I just included the main ones. So let's start off with comment.upper. What this is going to do is that it's going to make every single character inside the string uppercase, and we do see that everything is uppercase. This lowercase one is going to make everything inside the string lowercase, So you can see that this T is uppercase, so it's going to make that lowercase, and since everything else is already lowercase, it's going to stay lowercase. What this strip does is that it removes all the white space. You can see we have white space in the starting and ending positions. So what strip is going to do is it's going to strip all that unnecessary white space off. And then if we have the built-in method called replace, what that does is that it takes the string, it searches for every character that has an E and it replaces it with this pound sign or a hashtag sign, right? So you can see right here that all the E's are replaced with the hashtag sign. That's what replace does. Also, another very common one that we see with strings is the split keyword built-in method actually. And you could see what happens is that when we reference comment and then split, we're going to split it on the delimiter of the space. And then what this is going to do is it's going to turn this string into an array wherever there is a space. So there are spaces here, here, and everywhere else, right? So it's going to take all those spaces and split them, and then whatever's between those spaces is going to make them into arrays. Since there's nothing in between these spaces right here, they're going to be empty strings, and then every other string is going to be its own element. So like the is an element inside this array, and so on and so forth. You could see as we print out array 5 right here. Okay, now let's talk about some other ones. These are like true and false built-in methods, which are very useful. So let's say we have a string called s, and it holds abc 1 2 3, and if we check is al num, which means that it's checking if there are letters and numbers. If there's something other than letters and numbers, then it's going to print false. But this one prints true since abc 1 2 3 is all letters and numbers. But now when we introduce a exclamation mark, or it could be like a hashtag or a money sign or a percentage or an uptick, it could be any of these, is going to print false because it does not only contain letters and numbers, right? It also contains these other ASCII characters. Okay, now another keyword or a built-in function is alpha, which checks if the string only contains alphabetic characters. And so here we see that ABC is only alphabetic, therefore we are going to return true. But then if you introduce numbers or like any type of punctuation, being like a dot or a comma or like a colon or a parenthesis, any of these, it's gonna print out false, right? Or a number because it does not contain only alphabetic characters. Now moving on to the built-in method called isDigit. So we're going to see if the string contains only digits. If there's anything other than digits ranging from 0 to 9, it's going to return false, right? So in this one right here, you can see that there's something other than digits, and therefore it's going to return something false. And also there are some more ones, but you kind of don't really need to know those, especially for Leetcode. So we're not really going to talk about these, but definitely do some research and find these out yourself. They are pretty interesting. Okay, now the last one we're going to talk about is the join built-in method. This one could be really helpful. We see that here we have an array called home information. We could see that the home information is 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, 3,500 square feet, 2-car garage, and it was built in 2005. Okay, now what we're going to do is if we want to transform this data into like a comma separated value sheet, then what we're going to do is we're going to separate everything by a comma, which is this right here. And then we're going to use the join built-in method, and we're going to join all this array. For every element, for every index, at that index, it's going to join it by just adding a comma delimiter. So when we print this out, what we're going to see is 5 bedrooms, and then we see it's separated by a comma right here, and then it's four baths separated by a comma, and all these values after that is separated by a comma. But it looks like this is a bad example since we actually shouldn't have this here. Yeah, there you go, save it. And so therefore, if we ever slice this, it's not gonna stop on this right here. And then we have 2-car garage and then built-in 2005, right? So yeah, that is the join method. It just turns this array into a string with comma separated. Okay, now let's talk about concatenation. If we have a string variable called a, which says how are, and then b says you doing, and then we do c is equal to a plus b. This is a concatenation step where we are adding two strings and making it equal to a variable. And if we go ahead and print c, we're going to see that how are you doing is going to be one entire string. So this is what concatenation does. It just adds values to the end, and make sure to reassign it as well if you want. Okay, now we're going to talk about the multiplication operator. What this does is that if we multiply 5 times 3, since 5 is a string and we're multiplying it 3 times, it's not necessarily going to give 15. However, it's going to give 5, 5, 5. Right? The string 5 is just going to repeat 3 times, and that's what's happening here. You could see another example. We have hey right here, and if we multiply it by 5, the value hey is going to be said 5 times. It repeats 5 times, and that's what the multiplication operator does. All right, now moving on to f-strings. F-strings were introduced in Python 3.6, one of the best features ever introduced. So let's say we have a age variable that holds the age of a person being 36.589. And then if we do text is equal to this f-string, we reference f-string by having an f here with some parentheses at the end. My name is John and I'm this age years old. So what's going to happen is that instead of using commas to separate the values, what we do is we're going to use these curly braces and access the age value. And in here, you could store just about any type of information you want. It could be an object, and that object's value is going to be stored right here, which is really nice. And when we go ahead and print text out, we can see that my name is John. I am 36.589 years old is printed out, right? Well, not the years old part, but yeah, you get it. And you could just print the value out. So it's very common using the print function where you could say, wow, he is that many years old. And we're just rounding this off to the second decimal place, right? All right, now moving on to the ORed and char. This is the last thing we're going to talk about. What ORed and char do is that they convert characters into their Unicode. So we see that when we do ORed of the character A, its Unicode value is 65, right? And if we do ORed of lowercase a, its ASCII value is 97. And then if we do ORed of the lowercase b character, it's going to be 98, which is just one greater than this lowercase a. All right, and then if we do the char built-in keyword and we pass in the argument of this Unicode being 97, it's going to convert this Unicode into the character that associates with this Unicode. So if we pass in 97, it's going to reference this a string character because that is what is stored for this Unicode's value. And then 89 is going to be the lowercase b. Okay, I hope you guys found this video helpful. I will keep the code paste in the link in the description. And I hope you guys have a very nice day. Thank you for watching.